Hello there, Sketch here. Today I'll be covering a few more things that you can do to improve your skills in Zero Hour. I'll be explaining a few features that you can take advantage of to up your game, as well as get that edge above your opponents online. But before I get into it, that's right, if you would like this video and want to see more Zero Hour content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I upload more Zero Hour content. And with that, let's get right into it. First up, I'm going to talk about Fireport Vehicles. Know them, use them. I want to talk about vehicles that men can load up in and fire out of. I'm talking about things like the Humvee, the battle bus, and so on. These vehicles can become very frightening in the hands of a capable general, as you effectively combine the mobility of vehicles with the range and firepower of your rocket soldiers, or the utility of your other infantry like flashbang rangers or toxin troopers. In fact, Fireport vehicle armies are so powerful that they make up a good part of the current zero-hour multiplayer meta. So if you play online, it's definitely worth mastering these units. A quick word about the options available to the factions. The USA has the Humvee, with the Air Force General also getting one of the best Fireport aircraft, the Combat Chinook, which sports a point laser anti-missile defense which can shrug off a great deal of RPG fire and 8 slots. China has the terrifying Bunker Helix which, when loaded up with tank hunters, can lay waste to tank armies in seconds. And the infantry general also has the assault troop crawler which comes with 8 minigunners, devastating to any aircraft within reach. The GLA has the battle bus. However, GLA lags a little behind in this regard as it requires the palace to be built. To use these vehicles effectively, you must be aware of their weaknesses as well and how to deal with them. Airborne units like the Helix and Combat Chinook are vulnerable to anti-air artillery like quad cannons and Gatling tanks, and because their anti-air range is quite long, you can easily lose these vehicles without even seeing their attackers. On top of that, most of these vehicles do not evacuate their men once destroyed, meaning all their occupants will be lost. The exception to this, of course, is the battle bus, but more on that later. Nonetheless, you can mitigate this by manually evacuating the men before the Fireport vehicle can get destroyed. But still, be prepared to lose men this way in a serious firefight. Adding in the cost of the rocket soldiers, losing even a single vehicle can be quite expensive. An additional note on the battle bus has 2 health bars basically. When the battle bus is brought to 0 HP, it instead enters an immobile state and all its occupants lose half their full health. The occupants can still shoot out as normal and can be safely evacuated in this phase. If the bus loses all its health while immobile, however, all the occupants will die. Second up, use guard order. I don't know if this is common knowledge already, but it's definitely worth repeating if it is. Guard order can make microing your units a lot easier. To give your units a guard order, select them, tap G, and click on the area you want them to attack. Units on guard order will automatically attack enemies within the targeted guard area. While your unit's AI will automatically target other enemy units, they won't automatically target enemy structures. To get them to attack, you either have to manually attack those structures one by one, or you can use guard order for them to destroy everything in the area. Very handy for taking down building dense areas while you divert your attention to macro up, or to coordinate a second attack, or maybe even deal with a counter attack. Number 3. Have a good sense of the options available to you. Now you might think this is kind of silly to have as a point, but this is a strategy game, and what makes for a good strategy isn't always going to scream itself at you. You are going to find yourself in many different situations, and it's important that you learn how to respond to these accordingly. And one way to help you with that is to learn what sort of strategies you can employ, what those strategies counter, what strategies counter them, and so on. For example, when playing against a USA player, you might typically go up against a Rock V army. As GOA, you can use demo traps, or put your RPGs in buildings, or counter with battle buses in the mid game. If there are enough cliffs in the area, demo bikes may work. Well, if there are no rules against it, of course. Knowing that these options are available to you helps you to decide what the overall plan is, giving you something to work towards. If you don't have a plan of attack, you won't be able to play clearly, and your enemy will slowly but surely overcome you. Number 4, consider counterattacks. Now this one leans a little more into that multiplayer side, but if your enemy is floating a large army that you can't defeat should he attack, you might want to buy some time by sending some units to harass his base instead. While static defenses for some factions can be really strong, most generals don't usually field all that many emplacements as they are easily overcome with the appropriate amount of force anyway. Of course, you probably want to send some harassing units instead of your entire army, as you'll need your army to defend your base. If your counterattack takes hold in this base, your enemy has two options: turn his army back to fend you off, or press the attack on your base. If he picks the former, your attack will be fended off, but hopefully enough damage has been done and you'll have bought some time to prepare for his eventual attack. If he forces the attack on your base, then you might find yourself in a base trade scenario where your army takes his base while his army takes yours. Since the win condition is to destroy all your opponent's buildings, you want to prepare for the possibility of a base trade situation. Many things can happen in this situation, more than I can detail in this video guide. But you'll want to keep the win condition in mind when tackling this scenario. For example, to maximize your attack, you want to prioritize his builders followed by his production. If you can get rid of those, you can defeat your enemy by process of attrition, or simply go for the technical victory by defeating the rest of his structures. Of course, your enemy is going to want to do the same, so you'll have to protect your builders and structures accordingly. And that was my 4 tips on how to improve in generals. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helps you up your game not only in General Zero Hour, but in other real-time strategy games as well. What do you think about the tips? Did you think there was more that could have been explained? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you once again in the next video. Stay safe, everyone.